Has it ever occurred to you that you can just reach out to your favorite content creators and say, hey, I really like what you're doing. Can we meet up and just chat virtually sometime? Maybe don't do that. Maybe that's a little bit weird, but that's exactly what happened between me and the creators of the Loose Ends Project and Crafts by JannieLe. And we invite you to grab your hooks and your needles and stitch along as we are chatting about this cool new collaborative project. We were having such a good time that we forgot to create an intro. So this is my formal intro and invitation to you. Have fun. This was some cockamamie idea that I had maybe last year. JannieLe makes personalized gifts and apparel, and I had this crazy idea, like if I hit 50,000 subscribers, which to me is an unfathomable number because I've only been active for a little over a year, then I want to launch a merch line. But I don't want to keep any of the proceeds. I want to find some form of yarn-based charity to donate my portion of the proceeds to, as well as helping out Crafts by JannieLe as small business, which is a big part of my platform. And then in my personal Instagram account, which I have hidden any word that has to do with yarn, crochet, knitting, because I can't have it everywhere. All of a sudden, this 60-second doc comes up, and it's the Loose Ends Project. And so I texted JannieLe, and I was like, "Oh my God, I found it! This is the one!" Oh, and then that's the other funny part. So JannieLe and I were like, "These are the people." And then maybe a day later, I get a message in my Instagram, and it's from Masey because Jen does not do technology, we've learned, or at least Instagram.
Jen does other technology. Jen's ADHD, and to have Instagram available to her is a bad thing.
That is a bad thing, right? And so then I get out of the blue a message from Masey saying, "Hey, we love your stuff. Can we just like have a stitch and chat sometime?" And so it all, what was the word you used, Masey?
That's sweet. What did I say? I don't know.
Kismet. It was kismet.
Was it kismet? Yeah, I know.
Serendipity.
Might have serendipity.
Yeah.
You might have just learned about Loose Ends, but we've been following you for a while. I mean, you've been bringing some levity and comedy for at least several months. So we're fans. We were fangirling a little bit. And so I was like, I may as well reach out. Normally, I'm sure our messages kind of get buried, but was so nice to hear back. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Loose Ends. So our mission formally is to, let me see if I can remember it, to create community, inspire generosity by connecting volunteer textile finishers with projects people have left undone. So either because they have passed away or because they have a disability or illness that keeps them from doing that craft. And the crafts are really anything that's a textile. So knitting, crochet are the two most tied for first place. But quilting is a close third, and then comes things like embroidery and cross stitch and needlepoint, and then rug making and all that other stuff.
We just had a lady sign up with Hardanger. She's like, "Do you think you need Hardanger?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is."
Hardanger.
Yes, do it. Somebody will bring it. I think the easiest way to think about it is Grandma was making a blanket for your baby and she passed away before it was finished. And we have somebody who will make it for you, which is kind of astounding and lovely and not surprising as you move through this world of knit and crochet things. It's what we do, right? We finish stuff.
And Jen, what inspired the two of you to start this effort?
Oh, well, I mean, we both done projects for people before. Masey had done one where she re-knit something and dyed it so that somebody could wear it. I've been handed things and some, I had somebody hand me a sweater she was making for her husband, and she just really wanted it finished and she was having trouble. And Masey and I wanted to work together. It was just, we were presented with an opportunity to start this when a friend of ours' mom died, And before she died, she was going through chemotherapy, and she was making blankets for her sons, who are very large men. And she was crocheting them. And I am not a great crocheter. It hurts my hand to crochet. But I'm also a yes person a lot of times. So I was like, of course we'll do this for you. And Masey was like, before you do that,
Wait,
how
wait.
about this? How about we not do that? And how about we try this thing that we've been thinking about? So I like to joke that we started it so I didn't have to crochet a blanket. But
Yeah,
and
I remember the moment that Jen and I were sitting on the floor of our mutual friend's home and going through this bag of stuff. And Jen was like pulling out the needles and the patterns and the yarn and kind of categorizing everything and trying to figure out where to donate, what to donate where. And it's so funny. I remember the moment that Jen was like, we'll finish these for you. And I'm like, no. I remember it in slow motion. Like,
I was like, and it wasn't like, we'll do it. It was like, we'll do it. I guess we'll do this for your brother who just lost his mother because we love you. And she was like, no. And I think you have to.
We would have done it. We
Definitely would have done it. We love Patty. But Patty got to start a nonprofit with us. So that's kind of awesome. And I mean, people who die leave a lot of stuff when they craft. I mean, I've got some bookcases here that are filled with stuff. I cleaned off the floor, so there's no longer there's not as many boxes of yarn back there anymore. But, you know, when somebody's family member dies and they're crafters, one of the first questions I get is, do you want this? And the reality is, no, nobody wants that.
Sometimes.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
But there's there's organizations that like it. You know, if you get the cotton together, give it to the senior center. Like there's places to do it, but it's not as easy as like, I will take this and love it. Like nobody likes vanilla ice cream all the time. Nobody likes chocolate ice cream all the time. I want to go and buy my own stuff. So that's the one thing we don't do, is take people's stashes of stuff, but we have lots of places on our website where people can bring those things, because it's a reality, you know, like it's got to go somewhere. And these are precious things, because you don't know the last time somebody touched something or was using it. And you never just want to dismiss it right out, because that's kind of hurtful, and people are trying to honor their loved ones. So, but 9 times out of 10, that box of stuff has a project in it, and making that project visible is kind of that's the one thing that we have trouble with, is having people who don't do what we do see it and go, oh, we need to make sure that gets finished.
Right.
You know?
And so I'm going to segue a little bit to ask JannieLe a question, because you make personalized gifts, right? And so it seems to be a very natural partnership. And so do you have a story of like a meaningful gift that you made? Of course, you're creating new, they're finishing projects that people have left behind.
Well, I can kind of talk about what made me want to start this. Was because I remember one year my dad got laid off, and so we didn't have a lot of money. Our family is huge, and so we would give gifts to everybody. And my dad is an artist. Like, he likes to draw, and apparently super creative in general. And so
you say apparently super creative?
Yeah,
That's what I heard.
because I didn't know.
Some people say that.
Yeah, like I only knew because I remember he had drawn Bambi on the ceiling for me and painted it at my nursery when I was a baby. And then in my room he painted Little Mermaid. So all I knew was that he was a drawer. I didn't know he could like create physical things. So one year he just took like slabs of wood and cut them, sanded them down, and stained them, and then put Christmas lights and created like a little Christmas tree with like Hershey kisses, and it lit up and made like a little town. And so like that's kind of where all the creativity started. And I helped him with that. And I remember one year we did like when I was in elementary school. We did the little candy canes with the reindeer ears and the googly eyes. So I grew up kind of crafting. And then I was just like, one year I said, how can I make money? Can I make money out of this? Because I would also give my cousins presents, handmade presents all the time. And so that's kind of how it started. And one of my favorite things to do is taking portraits and laser engraving them onto wood, and just something that you don't normally see, but then when they get it and their reaction is just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I've never seen somebody pose like on their mantle or something, see something like that on their mantle. So those are fun, like very personalized gifts like that are some of my favorite things to make.
Right. And so meaningful for the person who receives it.
Yeah.
We've had some beautiful stories where, you know, we have a woman who found an object being made by the first wife of her husband who had passed away, and it was being made for their baby, who is now in his 20s and getting married and having his own baby. And we found a finisher who was just so wonderful and responsive, and took a picture of every week of all the work that they had done. And every time they did something, they would take a picture and check in, and they chose different colors to highlight the first crafter's craft, and then where they had added. And they were able to present it to the child for their child, which is super, I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, how often does the new wife finish the project of the first wife? I just think that's talk about like bringing everybody together, and I love that story.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's, you know, we do have some sadder stories. Like, we had a woman whose daughter died by suicide, and she had been making a crocheted blanket, and it was kind of a mess. Like, it showed some distress. Like, there were holes and there was inconsistency, and they'd been working on it up until the moment that they'd gone away. And the mother was like, I just want it to be something I can hold or remember. And we had our crafter work with her, and it turned out to be lots bigger than I thought it was. I thought it was a small thing, and it turned out to be a queen size bedspread.
Wow.
Like, we are learning a lot as we do this, because it's like, that looks like it looks small. Could we put like a banana next to it? Could you put something, like, give me an idea. So this was one of our earlier ones. And it was also, you know, we have a lot of introverts who don't like talking to people, who just like crafting. So the one woman who was working on it was crafting away, and we were like, hey, could you tell us what's going on? Hey. And finally I called her. I was like, hey, you have this really valuable piece of this object for this person, and you haven't really communicated. And she was like, it didn't even occur to me. I'm so sorry.
This is a different project. This is for a different project.
This is a different person.
Yeah.
And she started putting together updates every week, because she at that point felt bad. And when it came back, it was this beautiful rainbow. She was able to craft. Oh. It's the same project. She was able to take this kind of fakakata, like kind of a mess, and make it into something beautiful to remember that person's work. Fixed the holes with some buttons that had the woman's name, like first initial on it. And it was really actually architectural, because she put these squares together. I don't know how she did it. It was beautiful. And the woman who got it back was like, this is art. I could put it on my wall. People put blankets on their wall. And I was like, yeah. Or you could keep it down and wrap yourself in it. And she's like, you know me so well. I'm like, no, I don't know you that well, but I do know that this is important to you. I know the meaning of important. Like, I got that. So it's been a really long journey. going through this and just honing it as we go to make sure that we're taking into consideration all these different types of situations.
What I thought Jen was talking about was one of the first two blankets that we mentioned when Jen and I were going to each take one. We did wind up using those as our pilot, and one of them was matched with this amazing crocheter who cranked on it and got it done, and she wound up doing a bunch of press for us, and she was a superstar, and she gave it back, and our friend Patty was amazing. And then we're like, hey, what's going on with that other one, right? Time's going on, and Jen, this is the one I thought you were
this is pretty.
And so we don't ever put time limits on anyone. I mean, everyone's doing this in their own time. The average person is donating 52 hours of their time. The average is 52 hours of their time to complete stuff. And so we're like, we're going to lay off. Like, we don't have to nag. We're just curious. Like, hey, how's that project going? Is it? And she was like, I'm cranking away. Yeah, it's going great. And then we hear from her later. She said she posted, I don't know if we found out about it online first.
We talked to her about it. We were like, hey, I don't mean to push, but the other one's done. Like,
and you're cranking, like, what's up? And she said, oh my gosh, I just went on vacation. I came home to this blanket and I realized it was so heavy. I could barely lift it up. And she opened it up and it was the size of 2 king beds. Like, it was, it was
like extended length.
Yeah.
And she was like, this is unusably heavy. We can't, nobody can. And I was like, can you steam crochet? Could we cut it and make 2 blankets? I mean, that'd be kind of cool. But she was like, I just took it out.
Yeah.
So you've learned a lot along the way, it sounds like.
A lot. Everyone's learning.
Right.
Thousands of projects. There's a story with everything.
And so I also want to ask about your finishers, and you've had a very big finisher recently post a story in Tom Daly, and I was hoping that you could tell us how that went. How did you come across him? How did he agree to be a finisher? And so for those of you who don't know, Tom Daly is an Olympic swimmer who is really like a darling in the crochet and fiber art community because he also crochets. And
he's adorable.
He's the
sweetest.
The sweetest. And he's never wearing clothes. It's kind of amazing. Because he's a diver.
Awesome. Right? Who needs clothes?
If I was a diver and I looked like that, I wouldn't be wearing clothes.
Right. As I'm like covered all the way up.
We actually were introduced to him through Lion Brand originally, who they made the introduction, and we weren't sure. I mean, we were a little starstruck, and obviously, I mean, like, he's amazing. And we put together we asked if he would be interested in potentially finishing a project because he had the skills. And he said yes almost right away, which was amazing. And then we put a few projects together for him to consider, and he chose that beautiful, colorful rainbow blanket that the dog had damaged.
Bad dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
It was amazing.
And he did such a nice job, like a thoughtful.
I know.
He took it right before the Olympics, and we were like,
take it to the Olympics.
Taking it to the Olympics. You can't do that. You can't do that. That's no bueno. You have to be.
Yeah. Apparently, you don't pull out a gigantic blanket to work on both sides.
I'm sure they're not going to let you like make it nicer since they want you to be uncomfortable in the Olympic Village.
Yes, exactly. I mean, and he was working on things like sweaters for his teammates, storing like with the
right and the little caps and the
metal cases.
Did he make metal cases?
Yeah, he made these like little metal pouches for medals.
Right.
Well, cute.
It's so cute. Yeah.
He's just adorable and thoughtful and kind, and it was so awesome that he did it. And he posted about it, and then we got the lady to tape herself when she opened it up, and we don't always get to see when people open it up. Like that's a treat for us, because we get pictures after of like people like got it, but to like see the initial reaction is pretty special, because I mean, we choke up and cry sometimes just reading the story, but that feeling you get when like this thing got finished, that somebody loved you and wanted it to be finished but didn't get a chance to, and then somebody cared enough to get it done. I mean, that's like a double whammy of emotions that you get. So
Yeah.
I'm also a little hormonal because I'm going through menopause, but I cry a lot. And there's a lot to cry about. Happy tears, sad tears.
I think they're all good tears.
Yeah.
I have two more questions. One is for everyone on the call, and then one is just for Jen and Masey. One for the loose ends folks. How can people help out with your project?
So right now we have almost 28,000 volunteer finishers from around the globe. We are still always welcoming new finishers. So the first way to help is to go to our website, which is looseends.org. You can sign up to become a finisher from anywhere. We have finishers who've signed up from 65 different countries. We have projects going in 14 countries right now. We have, we'll get to flyers after. And then the second way is if you have a project that you would like finished, you can also submit that right through the button on our homepage. Submit a project. It asks you, I mean, the questions are pretty simple. We need photographs. We need some questions answered. The third way is to share information about us around. So if you can download our flyer, it's translated into multiple languages, and share it in your community. That actually increases, if you're signed up as a finisher, that increases your chances of getting a project assigned to you, because we start by matching geographically so that people are close. So sharing it with yarns shops, fabric shops, libraries, senior centers, hospices,
Funeral directors,
cancer community centers, any place where you think someone might need some help. And then the fourth way is to donate. We're always looking for donations. We're always looking for corporate sponsorships, so that we can continue to grow.
And a question we get a lot is why, do you have a million projects just sitting there waiting to go? And the reality is, like, people like Lisa, like you and I and Masey, we get how important these things are because we do these things. So all of our crafters who sign up are like, they get it. And they're going to have projects for us way down the line. And, they really want to help. People who come across these projects usually aren't crafters and don't know we exist. So in telling people about it, it's like there's a better opportunity to get it. And having more people outside the crafting world know about us is what we struggle with. So getting on our website, we do have all those flyers. If you download flyers and share them in your neighborhood, that's a great way to help us if you're not a crafter and you just really like the thing. And for our crafters who are waiting for projects, I like to think of them as like we're our own little special Red Cross of craft, right? Like go about your daily life, do your stuff that you always do, but then know that you might be called to help when an emergency happens. Somebody dies without a baby blanket being finished. So, a sad emergency, not a life-threatening emergency. But that's what I like to think of. It's like we've got this giant resource of people who have said, "Hey, I'll help when you need me. Let me know." Yeah. And that's kind of, it's so spectacular that people raise their hand, and it's so wonderful that they're there, and it's just nice to know that they're there when you need them. So.
Yeah. And then, of course, JannieLe and I are so glad that we're able to support in a very small way with anybody who purchases merch through the Get to Hooking Crochet partnership. and a portion of it going to loose ends. So my final question for each of you, all three of you being crafters, is what are you currently working on?
My website.
Yay!
And the website.
Awesome.
That counts. I've got 7 projects going because, that's what we do. I have a baby blanket for a friend that I always pick up and I'm like, this is going to be great. I love this pattern. And then by square 7, I'm like,
what am I doing?
so I've started a new technique. Usually I make the big thing, and then I put the little things on at the end. And when I hate myself, I'm doing it all in one piece, and then I'm stitching them together as I go. So that's what I'm working on currently, along with a sweater and a blanket and another sweater and another blanket.
I have more than 20 projects going. Oh, I pulled them all out and I lined them up. And yeah, there's more than 20. And then I just recently started getting interested in quilting. So I joined Zach Foster's quilting community, and I'm doing workshops there and like starting to get into that too. I just, I'm doing the Easy, that German designer who I forgot her name. But it's called Easy. It's like a shawl thingy. This is the one I do that you can't see, and it's small and it's like right down here.
I do have a box next to my desk that I need to sort out as well, and I'm just not talking about that right now. I do have to say to the crafters out there, if there is something that you started and do not want it finished, please make a note. There is in a box over there a crocheted bikini that nobody wants. Nobody wants this crocheted bikini. And if my daughter finds it when I die and says, Mom would always like to be buried in this, she would do that to me. She's a little
You're going to be buried in that.
I will be buried in that. And that is not right. Don't do that.
That's not your intention for that piece.
I would say along those lines, if you are a crafter and you have works in progress, leave notes, because none of us know what's going to happen when.
Right.
And we or a loved one or friend are going to finish those things. And if you can cut down on the number of mysteries that have to get solved, we'll appreciate it. I know. So what size were you making? What pattern were you making? What yarn were you using? What, any details you can jot down, and make sure our website is take a Sharpie and write looseends.org and just stick it in the craft.
That's what you need
like
next.
you would for a dog in a hurricane. Put that thing.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea, is to get a bunch of tags downloadable on your webpage if it doesn't exist already, that has, you fill it out on the back.
Signed. We could do that. We've already, So.
And JannieLe, what are you working on?
Testing a lot of different materials on the laser engraver with sublimation. One of my favorite things is to laser engrave. And so I'm testing out different like craft paper, faux leather, notebooks, just a bunch of things so I can relate to the 20 projects, because
R&D, man.
R&D. Yeah, I mean, that's what crafting is all about, right? Trying something new. So I just have a lot of other projects that I would like to start on top of the 20 other projects.
Totally hear that.
I get you. I just watched a video of a woman who grew her own flax so that she could spin it. And I was like, wow,
I should try
that. And I was like, no, not do that.
Yeah.
But good for you, lady on the internet. I like that you did that. Have at it.
All right. Well, I am going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for including us. This is so nice of you.
Of course.
Amazing. And
Such
kismet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.